Ever feel like life just costs you more than everyone else? Like even when you're making decent money, it's like it just costs us more with ADHD. Hey, welcome to the Doing Business with ADHD podcast. Have you ever noticed how getting work feels personal, doing work feels overwhelming, getting paid feels awkward, and building wealth feels impossible? It's not because you're bad at business. It's because your business wasn't built for ADHD. Let's change the rules. All right, and our standard disclaimer, we are not doctors, we are not therapists. We are just certified professionals helping people with ADHD because it's the life we've lived and it's the people we love. So that's what we're talking about today is ADHD tax. That's kind of the joke that we made up. I think it's a spinoff of, Dave Ramsey has the stupid tax. I think ADHD tax is kind of like our version of that. And I know we've all felt it. And there's some good ways to handle it too. And Caleb, what comes to mind first for you? It doesn't have to be like a big one or anything like that. Just a recent. What is an example of ADHD tax for you?
Man, yeah, like in my own life, ADHD tax is like forgetting to return stuff to Amazon that you're like, oh, I bought like two different sizes of this item so I could see which one fit. Oh, crap, I forgot to return one to Amazon. Now I'm stuck with shoes that don't fit. What do I do? Even though you call and you're like, wait, I'm a loyal Prime member for like 13 years. No, sorry, you cannot help. Like, oh.
One for me, that was a really, really big one, was when my dad passed away and I had to take care of his car. Well, in my mind, it frustrated my wife because it sat on our driveway. I had to get paperwork, all that kind of stuff, move through everything. But it was vulnerable to hail, to anything that happened to it. And I'm talking like years it took me to get the car sold. But in my mind, I was talking and I realized that it was a physical asset. Like, in my mind, it was safe because I could see it. And the money, whatever the investment was tied into, that was fine because it was there. And it's this idea that it was like, it just sat there. It was so stressful, everything. But I just didn't move forward, therefore it just sat there. And the Amazon one, that gets us as well. Because it's like, you order something, it's like, well, I don't know, like shoes are a good one, or even, clothes. It's like, well, I don't know if this is going to fit. My kid keeps growing, is this going to fit? So you order a couple of them, they try it on, and then it's just like, it's not hard to put it back in a box and send it back. Like, that's not hard. But we don't, and we don't, and we don't. So we actually triple pay for stuff on sale because we don't ship it back.
Totally.
Like that's a great example.
Something and you like, oh no, Canva just renewed for their premium one. I didn't need that. Oh no.
Oh my gosh, renewals that I forget about. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, real quick, we hop over. Yeah, talking about ADHD tax. Man, you just mentioned ADHD tax. It's the fact that there's like extra cost. And it could be time or money that just causes more friction because we lose sight of what's happening. A lot of times it's things that it's bills that we forgot about, like you mentioned, renewable subscriptions and things like that, or forgetting to book something ahead of time. For me, it's almost always losing track of time or losing track of money. Those are the two biggest places that it shows up for me. And there are some tasks that I have to do that I realized that just doing that task, it took way too much time, effort, and money to accomplish the task. And I just thought, well, honestly, for a long time, I was like, well, I'm just dumb. I can't tell anybody that it takes me this long. Like, I'm ashamed. I'm embarrassed at what that cost me, like in time or in money sometimes. And it's like, we can get over that, and it can just be something like the idea of ADHD tax. It's kind of a joke. We laugh and go, you know what? It does. We have friction in some places. But my favorite thing to do is like figure out, well, how can we either accept that tax and view it as part of the process, or how do we make decisions to minimize that tax? Like, how can we be proactive to where we don't find ourselves there quite as much? Anyway, so let's think here. What do you have another example that comes to your mind? I don't want to get too much into sharing client stuff. We'll keep it really clean and like, redacted.
Like change up people's names and stuff.
Yeah.
I was just gonna give a caveat when you shared about that a minute ago. Like, I think about taxes, like normal federal and state and local level taxes all the time professionally. And like tax planning is a big part of what I do. So like if you just talk to your accountant, most accountants anywhere don't do any kind of tax planning. They just do prep. They're really good at like, here's what happened last year. Let me record that in extreme detail. And like
The reactive.
right, exactly. It's all retro and not any kind of proactive future looking. Most accountants I've met are probably on the spectrum. I don't think I've ever met an ADHD accountant. Interestingly, it's quite opposite for other professions, but yeah, like that sort of attention to detail. Tell me what happened, report it. But it's all like the planning. That's where it lives. Like that's where the value is. So tax planning. And as I think about that with ADHD, what I love about the ADHD tax concept is that like we grumble about paying our taxes, but at the same time we do it because that's the reality of living in the state of Texas, where you have far fewer taxes than I do here in Pennsylvania. Yep. But we still live in this land, the greatest country in the world, that we pay taxes to, and that's just the cost of doing business here, and that's something we're willing to live with. And I think that's a helpful shame eliminating feature of calling it the ADHD tax. It's not like, oh, I'm so dumb. It's, oh, yeah, that's what comes with the territory. And yeah, I'll try to minimize it. I'm going to do my ADHD tax planning
exactly.
So I can minimize future, or I can control like, here's what I'm going to pay more taxes. So it's like I'm going to make tax-free contributions to this account here, and I'm going to take tax-free money out of this other one later because I contributed to it on an after-tax basis, an after ADHD tax basis, right? So I think of it in those terms all the time, which is probably kind of a weird, nerdy thing to do, but it really helps. Like you can plan when you're going to pay that tax, and you just shrug your shoulders and say, it's inevitable. The tax man will get you.
I love it. I wrote that down, the ADHD tax planning. I'm going to start using that regularly. I will try to credit you every chance I can. And then I also liked, like, as you, like, were chasing that, like, the metaphor just kept going, like, deeper and deeper, like, you're adding the layers onto it, and I was just, like, I'm geeking out listening to it, going, like, this is the most ADHD metaphor description of having ADHD I've experienced, and I'm loving it, all of it. It was so good. Thank you.
Yeah, I almost started singing a Beatles song here. Like, if you drive to work, he'll tax the street. If you try to walk, he'll tax your feet because he's the tax man, right? Like, but that's what shows up. You try to drive, you're going to forget to do your registration until you're sitting there getting your car inspected, if you're me. And then you're going to be a month late on getting your inspection done as it is. And that's just reality.
Yeah. And we've talked about, off camera, I can't tell you how many times until I could set up auto pay my water bill would be like one of those things where it's like, I know it happens, and it's just like, you're going about your day or whatever, and all of a sudden you get like the red envelope that you're like, oh, like you get it out of your mailbox, and there's like all the shame because you're like, oh, the neighbors can see that I'm holding the red envelope. Oh, like I would feel really guilty and stuff like that. But it's like, it was so easy because it's just like, I could go online and pay it. Yeah. When our city added the kind of auto pay, like, or the draft, to where it could automatically be handled, I was like, okay, yes, this is for me. Another one, we've talked about, you and I, about the, my medication. In the state of Texas, they cannot, like, if you have ADHD medication, you have to, the patient has to request it. So it's like every month, the patient has to ask the doctor to send the refill to the pharmacy. And I'm like, we are literally dealing with executive function issues and time blindness, and it is that person's responsibility to do this. So I told you, I actually, for like when I'm on medication, it's like I set up emails to go on the same day every month, and I schedule them. Just kind of like, okay, I'm just going to schedule 6 emails right now, and then I don't have to remember to initiate the process. But it's just ridiculous. It's like the whole system of getting medication is built on us carrying the burden that we're already struggling with. It's like, well, here's where it's fractured. Here's your executive functions are already taxed. Let the whole system depend on your executive functions to initiate this. And then shifting into like a business format, you talked about, you mentioned like subscriptions, and that is one that I found like, man, that will eat you alive. And I actually have every quarter, part of my audit is to look at, what did I pay for? Is there anything that I've paid for? Are there any bills that are recurring or anything like that, annual? Anything in the, like, I look at the past quarter, but I also look at the upcoming quarter from the previous year. Because you have some annual subscription type things that you're kind of like, is this thing about to land again without warning? And I've had things that it was kind of like, oh yeah, I need to handle that. I need to handle that. And I forgot to unsubscribe from a $5,000 membership. And you go, well, guess we're on the merry-go-round for another year. You know, it's like, I just forgot to cancel it. So I took the hit, and you go, okay. And I talked to them, and they're like, well, no. Like, you know, they're like, this isn't the agreement. This is how it all is. And I'm like, yeah, but I just forgot. And they're like, well, that's cool. Thanks for your money. So you're like, okay. I mean, it was a professional organization that I was a part of. And it's like, okay. So what did I do then? I put in a calendar thing and reminded myself. But honestly, I got halfway into the year, and I said, forget it. And I gave them my written notice. I was like, I need to terminate this. Like, I'm not really using it anymore. I need out. And they're kind of like, well, you have all this time. Why don't you think about it? And I was like, no. Like, right now, I have to decide right now, do not bill me again. And they actually, in that example, they let me stay in. And then they had like 30 emails and everything. They worked once, you know, when the renewal was coming, they were perfectly fine letting me forget. But when I actually was exiting the program, they worked really hard to let me know that, you know, that day was coming. I think I got probably like 20, 30 emails from them where they're like, and just so you don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. I'm like, this is literally the one that I want to forget.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that, or the idea of like time blindness. Mm-hmm. That's one that we get hyper focused, and we forget to make appointments or schedule something. I'm just going to get candid here. This year, I have already flown somewhere, gotten there, had all my luggage and everything. I was walking out, like at the airport, I was walking out and realized I never actually booked the hotel.
Oh.
Like, I'm in another city, getting ready to go somewhere. I'm like, oh wait, I looked at it, and I ran out of time, I had to go do something, and I never actually, like, I actually found the email where it was like, hey, you were looking at this. Basically, this was left in your cart. Do you still want to purchase? So, it worked out well. I was able to hop on, you know, my Hilton app and get it scheduled. I actually didn't get the hotel I wanted to be at, but I got one that was like 2 blocks away. So, you know, I was like, okay, fine. There's still one open. I can fix that. Paid a little bit more for that because I didn't book it in advance. ADHD and you go, there's some ADHD tax right there. And I feel guilty. You know, it's like, I can't tell my wife. I'm not going to tell anybody. Like, I'm not going to do this. And then, you know, now I'm masking. Now I'm hiding. Now I'm not being honest. It's like, okay. So I told a couple people. I told some of my friends. And I did tell my wife and stuff. It's like, sometimes if we... I'm going to tell another story. In, like, early high school, I found out that if I watched a bunch of people make fun of my cousin as his voice was changing in, like, late junior high school. Like, they all made fun of him for his voice cracking and all that kind of stuff. So I just started talking funny and doing it on purpose. So it was just part of. So I was, like, masking that by being weird, doing weird voices and stuff. And then, like, I'd be like, what? Like, I would purposely make big inflections in my voice and stuff. Almost cartoonish. And then it was like years later that I realized my voice has changed. I don't have to do that anymore.
Interesting.
And I feel like a lot of times with ADHD tax, I am faking or pretending and hiding it. To where if I say, you know what, sometimes it happens, I understand that. How do I plan ahead? How do I make decisions ahead of time so that I'm not... If I make decisions ahead of time, then I don't have to make decisions while I'm in motion. And what I found is when I try to make decisions in motion, that's when I get taxed. That's when the tax goes. It's almost like another tax bracket. It's like, and we're going to take more.
You should just creep it out. You just went from the 24 to the 32% tax bracket. Congrats,
yep.
Man.
They're like, congratulations, making more money. Cha-ching.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, you've been busy. Great, more taxes. That's kind of how it affects me. So one of the things, anyway, do you have any other like examples that you want to share?
Yeah,
you don't have to.
I feel like from clients, like what I see all the time is just, oh, I know I should get around to auditing my withholding for the year and like how much I'm paying. Another quarter rolls by, okay, whatever, and then they get to January and we start filing. It's like, oh, whoa, you're subject to a little bit of back taxes here, like just a little bit and not a crazy amount, but then suddenly there's like a 8% interest penalty applied to that you owe the IRS, and you got to get it paid off quickly. Like, man, if only I just like taken the 5 minutes it would have spent 6 months ago, never would have had this happen that you just wasted there. And there's two ways you can look at it, right? And I think like your traditional neurotypical, like, I don't know, that the classic Dave Ramsey profile, like I'm living on beans and rice, I'm like counting on my budget, like there's so much shame those types of people feel around that. Like that money personality type is called the money vigilant. There's this thing out there called money scripts, and there's 4 different ways that you can view money. It's created by this professor of finance somewhere, behavioral finance in particular. And that type is probably the furthest from ADHD you can get. It's all about like being diligent, consistent, saving often, living on less than you make, like just very responsible, not taking any kind of investment risks. Like they tend to be too conservative. They tend to try to save for retirement in cash and like not enough stocks. And yet they would be like horribly ashamed by something like that, right? And like ADHD just shows up different, right? We're a lot splashier, I think.
I think we probably have a lot of that shame and everything too. Like if it's wasted, or it's like, man, I let somebody else down. Oh, I can't invest that because I had to spend it here. And a couple of things, just the friction and the stress that things take on us. If you realize what is causing the most friction with your ADHD, where is it costing? Because we've talked about this before. We don't fit into the system as it is. There is friction there. Well, ADHD tax a lot of times is just the adapter. You know, it's like it's the grease that, alleviates some of that friction. Well, sometimes it's not on purpose. We don't see it coming, and that hurts. But if we know it's going to be there, for instance, I actually, this year, have actually raised my rates when working with most of my clients, because I have decided that I'm not going to spend time. Travel for me is hard. Like actual relocating, just being out of balance. The noise from an airplane is very hard. Having new hotels, figuring out how I'm going in and out of different hotels is difficult. Like just that uncertainty, I don't feel balanced. And that takes a lot of emotional and, just mental tax on me. And what I decided was I'm going to just limit what's going to happen to me. I'm going to put a little bit of control on here. So I have my Hilton account, and all of my hotels go through the Hilton account. Could I save money by going Travelocity, Expedia, all those different things, finding some random hotel and stuff like that? Yes. But I know what to expect. I know what it's going to be like. There's the, Hilton Homewood Suites is actually my favorite. It's like, this is my apartment. And you go into them. They all look the same. It is the same apartment. That's what I need. And it's like, I can actually cook there, so I don't have to eat out and throw off my diet as much. I can grab a couple things. You can actually cook in that little kitchen, the kitchenette that they have. So it's like, that's what I do. And then I have 2 airlines. I'm in the Dallas area, so there are 2 airports. And each one of them has a hub. And it's like, I can get pretty much anywhere in the country from one of those 2 airlines. So it's like, okay, if I'm going to fly, it's going to be one of those 2 airlines, and it's going to be the hotels that I'm comfortable with. And I make that choice, and I do pay a little bit extra for it. But at the same time, I just rolled it into my fees with my clients. Mm-hmm. So it's like they're actually paying the tax because I know that I'm going to show up better. Same thing, if I'm going to a workshop or something, I found this out traveling, if I take like a Lyft or an Uber or something, and it's like, if somebody drives me through if I have to drive through a strange town and figure stuff out, that is overwhelming. It's an exciting adventure. I love that. But if I have to do that, I love doing that, but I don't love doing that and then switching hats and going straight into working, facilitating, workshop mode. That's very hard on me to switch. So I found, okay, well, if I take Lyft or Uber or something like that, somebody can drive me around. I can still get to see the neat stuff, talk to somebody, had some really great conversations doing that. And then I show up ready to work. I show up to the place without all that travel stress, or driving. Just some cities, I just don't want to drive. And then I have since this year, I do the same thing here in the Dallas area. If it's a place that I'm going to have to drive through some traffic or whatever, I just book a ride. the clients pay for it. It's built into my fees. But it's like, okay, they're going to drive me through Dallas traffic. That's fine. Normally, I would show up taxed, exhausted, whatever, forget to fill up with gas, have to get gas halfway there. Now I'm panicked. Oh, I'm running 10 minutes late. All of that stress to where now it's just like, I'm going to book a ride, and I raise my rates so that my clients actually cover the ride. And it's like, all of that tax is now planned for. Like you said, the tax planning. It's all planned for. And I just go for a ride and talk to my new friend, whoever's driving me around.
Yeah, I think that's just so key. You're like trying to provide a premium service, you're charging for a premium service, and you're getting a premium experience rather than just a race to the bottom. It's stressful.
And then me showing up. I realized, like, if I show up and I'm already 20% spent for the day, like, I'm not showing up well for my clients. Like, if I don't bring my energy, if I'm stressed, if I have all that cortisol in my system, to where if I have a great conversation with somebody, like, I'm probably going to be running on, like, I'm going to have more dopamine from the ride. I'm in a better mood. I'm in a better state to walk in and serve others. But it took a lot of fails in figuring out this is what the stress is causing me. And then I had to be confident in my delivery to ask for more money. Like, I had to build. It took years to build and be confident and be able to, make that decision. And then another one that I was just thinking of talking about traveling is not too long ago, I actually was like, oh no, I'm going to do this. I didn't follow my system, my rules. I was like, no, it's fine. Look, I can fly in the morning on Spirit Airlines and fly home on Spirit Airlines. And I'm just going to do that. I can fly in, do the half-day workshop, and fly home. On paper, it looked great. I was going to save a lot of money. Not a lot of money, but, they were quite a bit cheaper than the other airlines. I was like, okay, this will be good. Oh my goodness, I've never been so, like, stressed and frazzled before. It was so hard on me. It was just very chaotic, and the flights kept getting bumped and changing gates and doing this. And then I got on the plane, and they're basically like, chairs weren't, the chair wasn't comfortable. I couldn't get comfortable in the seat. And then they keep interrupting. Like, do you want this? Do you want this? They're selling this. They're selling this. Like, just this constant chaos the whole ride. And then it was noisy on the plane. And then I got there, and we landed at the wrong gate. So I had to, like, figure out how to get back to, like, or not the gate I was expecting to land at. Landed at a different gate. So then I was like, okay, great. Find a map. Figure out where, where's my ride going to be. So I had to, like all of that. And I looked at it, and I thought, I saved $80 on that flight. Like, how dumb do I feel right now thinking that $80 was more important to me than basically my sanity that morning, right? Yeah. And then I thought about it and was like, no. So I've also added on that if I'm going to do a workshop like that, I don't fly in that morning. I need to settle and rest from the flight and show up the next day. I'm not going to fly early in the morning and show up frazzled. I just adjusted a little bit. So, not to get down on Spirit Airlines, I've just realized that they aren't part of my plan. And paying that extra money for the plan that works is worth it for me. And that, so ADHD tax isn't just money. We see the money, we know that, but I've found that I go back to the 4 resources that we have are time, money, energy, and focus. And you think, which one, at any given point, there's at least one that you have to protect. And there's one that you can spend. And sometimes you have to protect money. Well, what do you have to give up to protect the money? And sometimes it's like, my energy and focus are what the client's paying for. Okay, well, that costs more money. If I'm going to show up with the energy and focus the way that I need to, that costs more. And then same thing like getting your time back. Well, sometimes you have to trade money for time. But anyway, that's my views on ADHD tax. I've heard lots of other people. The shopping one is actually huge. A lot of people come up with a shopping one. Subscriptions in a business are massive. We just forget what we don't know. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they actually had 3, their professional liability insurance. They had 3 policies. They didn't realize it, but they were like going through cleaning up all their stuff, and they're like, "Oh, I'm paying for 3 different policies," and I'm like,
"Oh man,
what?" Like they just forgot that the other ones were there with like a different staff member, all this kind of stuff, and they just had 3 of them that they've been paying for basically for years. It sounded like, and I'm like, that's just, and not to put shame on it, we kind of laugh about it, But it's like, so it's time to stop burning thousands of dollars a year. Like, okay, let's make the decision. We don't need those anymore and move on.
Next year is going to be so much more profitable than this year because that's why that's like the second to bottom thing on my pyramid, the whole like founder's hierarchy of financial needs. Like number one is like, what kind of stuff do you have? Like, do you have all these extra? I always find people who have like extra whole life insurance policies that they were sold. Like, yeah, I put $180 a month into this. Like, you're just mulching your cash into nothingness. Exit this thing right now. Be done with it. Well, let me ask you this then. Like, I'm kind of hit with 3 financial planning topics where I wonder if this isn't part of the ADHD tax showing up, and I want to get your thoughts on it, Jake. So, like, people who don't get any kind of term life insurance, I find this often in like the ADHD world. Yeah, I need it. I'll get to that, and they just don't get around to it. They don't create wills or anything, and they don't involve their family or particularly spouse with the finances. There's no like legacy. There's not like a 10-page Google Doc color coded with all kinds of links to where to go to pay your bills when they die. Like, I feel like this is more common in the ADHD world. Like, do you have any thought? Is that ADHD tax, but like tax deferred almost? Like someone's gonna pay that tax someday.
Actually, yeah, that's like an inheritance tax. Is what you're doing is you're kicking the can down the road, and they're gonna inherit it because you didn't manage it. You know, man, I'm feeling a little guilty on some stuff right now. I'm listening to my own words. Dang it, Caleb. But
the cobbler's kids have no shoes, as they say.
the idea there, a lot of times the reason we don't do those is with ADHD, we talked about hooked on hope before, and it's this idea where they hope, like, they're not thinking that they're going to die. They're hoping, well, I'm just moving forward with the positivity this is going to work. Like, their life is going to work. I'm going to keep living. Like, that is how there will be more time later. So if you get that hooked on hope, you get that time blindness, and then you get that executive function, that friction where it's like just starting the thing that's not fun. Like, we'll get around to it later. Like, all of that happens, and then it really is just like an inheritance tax, where at the end of the day, somebody's paying that tax. Either you're spending your time and money up front, or somebody else is inheriting the mess. And if you don't have life insurance, okay, well, what are they inheriting on the other side of that? Like, what's happening? If you don't have a will, well, basically that means like I was trying to explain a will to my kids the other day, and I said, imagine getting a Lego set that has directions. And there comes a day where you're like, okay, it's time to build the Lego set. If you have directions, it goes well. Otherwise, you get a picture on the box and say, good luck. Or you get a bag of Legos with no picture and no directions. It's like, at the end of the day, I want to give you guys directions on what to do with stuff. And my kids are like, can you just leave us Legos? And I'm like, okay, we're not there yet. Got it.
You'll get more than Legos someday, my son.
Yeah. But it's just like, what do we want to leave for them? But we have to have that conversation, that thought that, okay, at some point I'm going to be gone. And it's hard to stop and go, not just, we like to, as ADHD, especially that visionary idea, we like to dream what the future could be, but we don't like to go, but beyond that, when the dream stops, like, that's not fun. Like, I'm feeling it right now. I'm like, oh, that's sad. Like, nope, let's do anything else. Like, I want to draw. I want to play the Legos. I want to go look at my pipeline and see, how's it going? Do I have any leads to reach out to? Like, I don't want to think about sad stuff. So I think we have I think it's definitely where there's 2 things. If you're running your business, if you're moving forward and you're not planning for the future, then eventually you're deferring tax, and either you're going to pay it or your loved ones are going to pay it. So it's kind of like, you can pay taxes when money goes in and then you get it tax-free at the end. That's kind of what we're saying. If you have a plan, you can do that intentionally. So, long rambling thing to answer your question. I don't know that I would consider that ADHD tax, but I definitely think that there is tax coming. There's ADHD tax coming. And you can either plan for it, or you can just punt it down the road and let other people clean it up.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's helpful.
And now I got to update my Google Doc for my wife.
Yeah, dude, same. It's been a couple years here, so like I said, the cobbler's children have no shoes. It's a very real phenomenon.
So, and then I'm trying to think. The other thing with ADHD text I found is time. Um, that idea where things take longer than it should. Just how many times do we do a task, and then we feel guilty that it took us so long? Or it's like, oh yeah, I can do that, and we, in our minds, we're like, yeah, we can do, like, oh, that'll only take an hour. Great. But when we say we can do 20 things that take 1 hour, we can't get them done in a day.
Mm-hmm.
Like we forget those space, we forget that. Well, then it comes to time and money are the biggest ones where, that ADHD tax shows up, and it just costs more. And another thing, like with traveling and stuff that I found is I have doubled up, like, my toiletries. I have a separate toiletry bag with the same exact stuff that stays packed. And it's ready to grab. It's actually in my bag right now. And it's like, I have a satchel that is like my office away from the office. It has a separate charger. It has everything, has the same mouse that I use at my desk. So it's kind of like I have my mobile stuff, and then I have my here stuff. I mean, like, I'm talking toothbrush, toothpaste. So everything is packed in the toiletry stuff. All of my stuff that goes to my computer and everything, I have the same markers and pins that I use. I have a double set of them. And it's like, if I'm traveling, I don't have to find them. So the idea is like, I am going to pay for this twice, because I'm going to use it in separate settings, as opposed to traveling and going, oh, I forgot this again. Like, there was one point I think I had 6 computer chargers because I just kept forgetting to take it with me or something. And it's like, okay, well, if I have 2 and one is in my bag and it always goes with me, and the other one stays here, then it's really easy. Like, there's this idea where that is an ADHD tax. I have to pay for that so that I don't forget down the road. Mm-hmm. But I can be intentional about it instead of buying 6. Like, here's a question, Caleb. When you travel, what's the one thing you can't go without?
Yeah, one thing can't go without when I travel. I would say, like a razor, honestly, because I just look terrible with the beard. I can't grow anywhere except like on my neck. And like if I forget it, I'm like, oh no, I just grow like this awful neck beard and like nothing else there.
That's awesome. And obviously, I do not worry about taking razors. The thing that I used to always tell people was my debit card, because I guarantee you I forgot something. And as long as I have my card, I can buy what I forgot. And that was kind of the joke that I had for a long time, until I was like, or I could just plan to not forget stuff. Like, my plan was, I'm going to forget things and pay for it. Like, I just know that's going to happen. And I thought, well, that's a really dumb plan. Like, I can accept that things happen, but I'm not just going to plan that I'm going to have to drop a couple $100 here and there because I forgot stuff. I have, since I've set up my bags and stuff like that, I have not traveled without my computer and my phone. But there have been times that I traveled out of town and forgot one of those 2 things. And it's like, how am I going to give a presentation without my laptop?
Right.
Well, that's going to be interesting. So I had to figure out what I was doing. Like, I got around. But at the same time, it's like, that's a big deal. And at the time, I actually was like, okay, well, maybe I can go grab a new one.
Right.
Like, my solution was to swing by, grab a new laptop, have, access the cloud, pull down my stuff, and work from there. And I'm like, okay. Like I said, in motion, we will put out the fire that we're in, but it's usually not a wise decision.
Exactly.
And that's where ADHD tax shows up. So I like to say, can we remove decisions and be intentional about them? Man, I'm just thinking, I'm trying to think of other funny ones, but, okay, we went on vacation the other day. I say the other day, a couple months ago. We go on vacation, and we're about an hour and a half from home. And my daughter, from the back of the van, goes, I don't have any shoes.
Oh.
I'm like, what? And she was like, well, we were kind of in a hurry, so I just walked out to the van with no shoes. And I'm like, we're going on vacation. We're going hiking. Like, we're going to, like, diamond mines. Like, this, like, we're doing stuff, and we're an hour and a half in, and she's like, I don't have shoes. And I'm like, that has been my life. Like, I wasn't angry. I was like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then I was like, okay, I can't make her feel guilty because the first thing going through my mind is like, do I have my shoes? Like, I'm going through the list, like, yeah. And then it's like, well, why didn't I think to pack? I mean, she's the youngest, she's the baby. Why did I not think to make sure she had shoes on? That's on me too. But that's kind of that idea of ADHD taxes. We get going and we just don't go, do I have shoes? Like, we're on vacation. I don't have shoes. That's cool.
There's a constant battle with like taking kids to ballet. Like, oh shoot, I didn't double check they had shoes.
Well,
oh, no, they don't. And then it's a huge problem. Yeah.
In business, same thing happens when you have employees, and it's like payroll and interest. Like, to forget that bills are coming due, and that's where I like to, like, if you can externalize, automate things, or have somebody else. If your business is at the size where somebody else can carry that stress for you, if somebody else can just make sure those things are paid, that it's going to be there. Another thing I always teach people is we call it the runway. And I remember in the marketing agency that I was running, when we went from 3 to 6 months expenses sitting in the account. And people were kind of like, our planner was like, there's a little bit too much in there. You're being too conservative. And I'm like, but I sleep at night. Like, I need more money sitting in a savings account, checking out. Like, I need more cash liquid sitting there so that I know if anything goes sideways, there's a runway where I can go, okay, great. If all of our business dries up, I still can fly for 3 to 6 months. I can cover payroll. I can cover everything. So it's like, if you make that decision, then you don't have the stress on the back end. Because I was making decisions where it's like, payroll how many times is it like, oh, we're coming up on payroll. Oh, we're a little bit short. Well, let's get a loan. Let's get our, line of credit. Well, it's like, well, now you're paying interest and you're paying all this kind of stuff. You're taking the tax hit. It's like, there's all of this stuff that's now moving, and that's more ADHD tax. It's like, the idea is, like, I forgot, or you've heard me say this a lot, like, remembering to remember is the hardest thing when you have ADHD. And it's like, what can we use? Calendars. How can we remember? Have other people remember for us? Because when you don't remember to remember, that's where ADHD tax always shows up.
Oh, yeah. And I feel like it's in relationships, honestly, the most, like in marriage, parenting, friendships. Like, oh, I forgot to remember to schedule a text to my friend for their birthday. Small thing. Probably doesn't matter. Oh, no. I forgot to take the poopy diaper all the way out to the trash can because I set it just outside the door, and I was about to go upstairs to the bathroom to grab the bathroom trash to add the poopy diaper to the bathroom trash and then take that out to the can. Forgot. So then my wife opens up the kitchen window right next to the back door and goes, "This is not the nice spring day I was expecting."
Yep.
And I get a text about it. Like, that's exactly. Yeah,
I mean, nice. I was like, that is oddly specific. Like, yes, that is so real. And I mean, that's what it is. And it's normal. And I think having a place where we can laugh about them.
Yeah.
Not where it's like we're ashamed, but we just go, yep, there it is. And when you can plan ahead for them, when you're not surprised when they happen, you can fix it, reset it, pay what you have to pay, minimize the risk, that's really the idea, is you're minimizing the risk on the front end by planning, and then you minimize the impact when it does happen, and just get back on the rails, because we can feel guilty, we can be ashamed, all that kind of stuff. I have a Slack group that I'm a part of, and it's kind of like a mental health, just some people that I know that have ADHD, and it's like it's an okay group, like a size group, but the idea is like, that's a safe place where you can be like, yep, ADHD test, like this happened, and people are like, oh yeah, me too. It's just this place where we do it, and people often, it's kind of like, somebody will be like, hey man, I'm praying for you, or somebody will just like chime in and be like, oh man, that hurts, or thanks for sharing. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, people will, if I post something in there and people say, hey, thanks for like letting this be a safe place, then I'm like, that has changed my perspective and a lot of the way that I approach ADHD and being open about it, where it's like, just have people around you that you feel safe sharing about. Laugh when you can laugh. And I had this, I was talking to somebody earlier today, and it's this idea that when somebody laughs at their own ADHD tax, it's different than when somebody else, like, if Caleb, if you tell a story and you laugh, that's one thing. Mm-hmm. If I laugh at you telling a story but you're not laughing, that's different. If I tell your story and laugh, that's different. Like, that's shameful. And then I would even say when neurotypical people try to tell the story, it always lands bad for me. It hurts when other people tend to tell that story. So just think about that. Like if there is that rejection sensitivity, if there are things like that, it's like, you know what? You can share your stories. That's fine. And if somebody else is sharing their story, like you can laugh with them, but just be aware that like, would you want somebody laughing before you told the story? Would you want somebody in there? But if you build those safe places where it's kind of like, yeah, we've been there, we can laugh together about this. You can kind of co-work your way out of the shame of, well, I have literally flown to the wrong city before. Years ago, I was looking at it, and I actually booked a flight, same city, wrong state. Like, same city name, wrong state. I landed at the wrong airport, and I was like, huh, well, I'm glad I flew a day early. Like,
But what
you know,
city?
like,
I'm curious now.
um, I'm pretty sure it was like Jacksonville or something.
Oh yeah, because there'd be a couple. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was something like Jacksonville, something like it was something like that. But it was just like I was like at the airport, and they're like, "Welcome to the flight to whatever." Like we were landing in the city, and I'm like, "What? Hold on." Obviously, big misfire there. I flew in early, so I was able to adjust and basically connection get over there, whatever. Cost a lot more money. I can believe I had like hidden that one for myself. This is like probably
Yeah.
close to 20 years ago.
I
But it was
totally
this idea.
I found the wrong exit on the highway all the time because
Oh,
the client
all the
calls me,
time.
like, oh, hey, how you doing, Bob? And then, yeah.
Yep. We love U-turns, roundabouts, clover leaves. Like with ADHD, it's kind of like, oh, well, yep. The idea is like we always know how to, as long as we know how to get back home, we're fine. It's
Yeah.
like, well, I can get back on path. I can get back on, we're fine.
Yeah.
It's just an adventure, we're just going for it. So
Honestly,
anyway,
I
we
think
pray.
early in the conversation we talked about like tax planning, and we should probably wrap up pretty soon here. But it just strikes me as like good tax planning involves paying as little as you can today, unless the trade-off of that is going to be paying a ton in the future. And so, if you're trying to live so stressed like a neurotypical today, and you're like putting all that pressure on yourself, it's actually going to make it worse for you now, but certainly in the future it's just going to cause so much more chronic stress that's going to build up. And then on the other side of it too, like stuff that keeps clients generally happy is no surprises at tax time, and people like to get small refunds back, when in reality the refunds are kind of working against you because the government's just had a free loan from you all year long.
Right.
So we try to just break even or have you owe in a little bit ideally. But with the ADHD tax, it's similarly controlled. Like the surprises are the worst when we get the, oh wait, I didn't know that I was going to be hit with this bill, or like, oh shoot, I didn't even think about the fact that I just locked the keys to my rental car in the rental car because I had a push to start button on it. And here I am at this restaurant. I'm about to have a cool meeting with this client, and then I'm going to be stuck after that. And like, I don't know, it could be any number of things like that. But I feel like just limiting surprises, being careful about when you're paying the tax and how you're paying it, and then above all, the really big one that's stuck with me here is maintaining a safety net. Like you talk to your emergency fund. So when I have clients get a surprise tax bill, it sucks. But if they have the cash to pay for it, just sitting in an emergency fund or like a non-taxable brokerage account that's after tax, okay, great. You can just sell something, pull it from there, awesome. If somebody's so like, I've got $2,000 in my bank, the rest of my money's in my 401k, I'm like 40 years old. If I want to access that, I'm paying income tax on withdrawing that plus a 10% penalty for an early distribution on this money. But that's all the place I've got to go, or else I'm stuck paying this 9% interest rate to the IRS on this tax bill if they're willing to like extend that to me. Now you just have like no good options. You're borrowing money from the IRS or from somebody else, or you're taking a penalty on it because you now owe this tax. And so I guess that's my point here that I'm thinking as we're talking, like, save yourself some liquidity or some margin that you're able to stomach the ADHD tax when it comes. Expect it to just show up in surprising times and have a plan for it.
It's that, yeah, like that idea of, we talk about plan ahead. Like, what are the things you can plan ahead for? Hey, can you build it into what you do or what you don't do? Especially if you're running your own business. You go, okay, well, for instance, hiring a bookkeeper, having somebody handle payroll, HR, like use Gusto. I don't know, like paying for that service so that you don't forget. I look at it, I'm like, okay, I am paying for the peace of mind that I don't forget to do all these things that are horrible tasks that I cannot stand. Like, that frees me up to sleep at night, first of all, to not be worried, to not have that stress where you wake up and you're kind of like, wait, what happened? Or just at any given point, are we going to have money for payroll? Did we cover this? Is it going to flow? Did I remember to run payroll? Oh, the holiday's coming up. We got to run payroll early. Like, there are tools, software, and people that can do that stuff for you. And a lot of them are a lot cheaper than I thought. For instance, like Gusto. At first I was kind of like, I don't want to pay somebody to do that. And I switched over. And I am the only employee in my company. And I have it set up, because I'm an S-Corp, and I have it set up to where I run payroll every month paying myself. That doesn't sound like it's very complicated, and I didn't want somebody else to do it. But what I found out is the time that it took me and the stress that I had just thinking about doing that, I can actually I can add 2 retainers a month into the time it took me to just manage some of that stuff.
Wow.
And then you look at that trade-off and you go, 2 small retainers versus the cost that I'm paying for this software to manage, and they manage my, quarterly tax and all that, and my state paperwork. Like, all that's built into the system, and I'm like, I was actually paying ADHD tax because of my pride. Like, that was one where I was holding stuff that I shouldn't be. Honestly, it was just down to my pride. Like, I don't need help. I don't want to pay for that help. Like, who on earth wouldn't want to pay for that help? Like, I went back, I'm looking at it, I'm going, okay, that was just me being dumb for years. Now that I see it, I'm telling people, like, where are you stressed? What don't you like? Can you do that? Can you offset that? Can you take on another client? Would that, if you had that time back, could you turn that time into money? And if you can, let's consider that path. But yeah, the ADHD tax, it's just like, what are we... It's not fair. I'm going to be honest. It's not fair. The rules are against us, and we're playing. It's kind of like, I'm left-handed. That means in Little League Baseball, that means you're the kid that gets hit. Every time you step up to the plate, you're the kid that gets hit by the pitcher because they're not used to a left-handed batter. That's like left-handed tax, like southpaw tax in baseball. When you're a little kid, you get hit. Same thing with ADHD. And then you go into business, which means there are more rules and regulations, which means all those rules and regulations gonna have some blend of, now there's ADHD tax possible on all of them. Okay, it's not our fault, we're not lazy, but they're not going to make it easier for us.
Right.
So now we have to have a plan, to keep from going broke and keep out of jail. Like, that's just kind of the same thing with ADHD tax. You need a plan.
Yeah, 100%. Like, that's why, contrary to basically every financial advisor I own, I've just expanded my services to include bookkeeping and brought on a team member to handle that who's an excellent bookkeeper. And like, I find clients are just asking for that all the time. Like, ADHD business owners are in need of just making sure that box is checked firmly, right? It's
literally a box of receipts. They need somebody to...
Yeah, sometimes a grocery bag that's barely holding together and should probably just go get recycled already, but...
Yeah. Didn't this grocery store go out of business 2 years ago? No, I'm just kidding.
Totally.
But yeah, so man, I know... Just everybody listening, I hope that some of these stories we tell you, like, we're laughing through them, like, we know the pain. We've been there. There's been the times that something pops up and you're like, I don't have that money. I don't know how we're going to pay that bill. Yeah. So you have to get creative. The thing is, when you're in an emergency, ADHD people shine. Like, we can get out of emergencies. We can handle that. But we don't want that cortisol. We don't want to live in that stress cycle. So that idea of, like Caleb mentioned, the ADHD tax planning. Like, if you look at it and go, where am I feeling that? Where does ADHD tax keep showing up? What's causing that? Can I have a plan before I get there? And when it does happen, you don't have to be ashamed. You just look at it and go, oh, well, this is where it is. How do we get out of it? And then what is that plan so we don't do this again? Calendar reminders, put stuff in there, delegate it to somebody else, cancel subscriptions. I go through quarterly and just cancel subscriptions and things. I look at my books and say, what did I pay for in the last quarter that I don't need to pay for? Or every now and then, I had a subscription the other day. It was a Dropbox subscription. It popped up that I paid for a Dropbox subscription, and I was like, what? And I looked back and it's like, I've actually paid for this for like 4 months and not used it. So for 4 months, I'm paying for this service. And I'm like, I actually opened it up to put some files for a client, and the client was supposed to, whatever. I forgot to shut it down. It's like, okay, fine. Now I have paid. Now there's shame. There's all this kind of stuff where I look at it. That's money that I lost, all that. Yes. Fine. But shut it off now. Don't do it again. So every time I have a subscription, I put a calendar thing in there. I put a calendar reminder to pop up, and it reminds me to cancel things.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have that, or I also have sometimes where it's like there's a 15-minute meeting every month, and I will literally just go into, there's a Google Doc where I list all the things that I need to handle, and I will open it up, and I will have just a list of things to cancel. Where it's like, all right, this is my task list, because I know I'm going to forget, and I don't want to pay thousands of dollars every year because I forgot to remember things.
Yeah.
Anyway, we need to wrap this one up. It's going long.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, this has been good. Hopefully, those of you who are listening, number one, you just feel seen and heard and not different and weird and dumb, because you're none of those things. Well, maybe different, but that's not a bad thing at all. Just the ADHD.
Have you seen normal? People are overweight and unhealthy and all this kind of stuff and divorced, and I'm like, I don't want normal. Let's be different.
100%. Yeah. I go and take my kids places, and we were at a baseball game the other day on the merry-go-round, and all these kids on the horses are 6'7", 6'7", and my kids are just there the homeschoolers they are. I'm like, thank you, God. Thank you. Just, it's good to be different, right? But yeah, hopefully you got something out of this today if you're listening. If you want some more ideas on how to eliminate the ADHD tax in your life, definitely drop us a comment here. Grab a spot on one of our calendars. I can help you figure it out in your financial life where it's showing up. Jake's going to help you in the other 95% of your life where it shows up more. Drop us a comment. Subscribe to us in all the places. I think we're supposed to say stuff like this. We're in a bunch of the places. Find us in the places and subscribe to it there. And otherwise, thanks for listening to this episode. We will catch you next time.
Hey, welcome to the Doing Business with ADHD podcast. Have you ever noticed how getting work feels personal, doing work feels overwhelming, getting paid feels awkward, and building wealth feels impossible? It's not because you're bad at business. It's because your business wasn't built for ADHD. Let's change the rules.